So thanks everyone for joining our meeting today. As I already mentioned, this is our user group meeting for the Baltimore group and also the Northern Virginia and DC groups. We hope you're here as well. We have about 200 people registered, so we'll probably continue seeing people log on as we work our way through our agenda. We will go through some introductions in just a moment with our user group leaders. This month we have an abbreviated agenda. We got some feedback based on our previous meeting that while the 3 to 4 hour time slot was appropriate for in-person meetings, it wasn't as successful for the virtual meetings. So we've made an adjustment, shooting for closer to an hour and a half, and made our presentations a little bit shorter. We would love to continue to get your feedback, not only in the meeting format, but also in terms of the content. So please feel free to connect as usual and reach out to the user group leaders, as well as our speakers and panelists to say thanks after the meeting. I will go ahead introduce myself first for those of you who might be new. My name is Andrea. I am a leader for the Baltimore user group. Have been doing this for, oh my gosh, I don't even know, a couple of years now, enough years. I currently am in LA, but trying my best to keep our user group alive virtually and from the other coast. Luckily, I have to help me now, Prim and Ryan, who have stepped in and are amazing. They'll introduce themselves as well. And then we also have Brian from the Nova user group, and then Brittany couldn't join us today. Brittany Fong is the user group leader from the DC user group. She did want me to let you all know that they have a meeting coming up, I believe on the 24th in a couple weeks. We're gonna drop that link into the Zoom webinar chat for you all to find the splash invite. These virtual meetings luckily don't have a capacity limit, so we highly encourage all of our local kind of tri-state area to join the related user groups. So yeah, a little bit more about me just really quickly. I work for R2 Integrated, which is a full service digital marketing agency. I am a web analyst, so I mostly work with user behavior data. My role is very limited, so I really enjoy being able to learn with and from all of you during the meetings about the many other ways in which Tableau can be utilized besides my little pigeonhole that I work in. And then I'll go ahead and pass it on to Prim.
Thanks, Andrea. Hello, everyone. I'm Prem Santurai Rajesh. I'm co-leader of Baltimore user group. Ryan and Andrea are the other leaders. So we are happy to pull together this virtual user group. So we are really looking forward to hearing your feedback. And we took your feedback from last session. We brought it down to 90 minutes. So about me, I'm heading the BI practices at Blend 360. So we use Tableau a lot. We are a service company. We do a lot of Tableau implementation for our clients. Yep, and that's it. I'll pass it on to Ryan now.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ryan Kreisberg. I am a new co-leader of the Baltimore Tableau user group alongside Prem and Andrea. And I'm excited to be here. I've been using Tableau desktop for probably 8 or 9 years now, and more recently Tableau Server for about 4 or 5. I work for the Maryland Department of Health as an epidemiologist. I actually currently have 2 jobs, working for the Center for STI Prevention, and more recently have been pulled into the COVID response. So yes, life is busy, especially as an epidemiologist, but I am very excited to be here.
And then Brian.
Sorry, doing this from my phone, so had to find the mute button. Brian Loverin from the Northern Virginia Tug Group, so thank you very much for including our group on it. If anybody is a member from Nova Tug and is interested, we'll have our meeting next week on August 12th at 5:30. We've got 3 presentations lined up for that. I'll get a reminder back out again either tomorrow or early next week, or both, depending on my regular work schedule. I've worked with Tableau for a couple of years now. I work for Volkswagen Group of America in our logistics department, so we use it for a lot of reporting on KPIs and logistics information. So always like coming to these meetings because I always learn a lot, and I have a lot left to learn. So thank you very much for including us. And if you have questions on joining our meeting next week, I believe they'll have the link to that as well, but I'll be sending that out again to the list of folks that I have. So thank you.
Thanks, Brian. And then you all will see a couple of other panelists in the list there. So we have a couple of speakers who will have introduced themselves right before their topics. And then we also have Alyssa from Tableau, who's kind enough to help us facilitate these meetings from a technical perspective, and she helps run the Zoom with us. That being said, if you all have any questions throughout the meeting, you can use the Q&A feature, which should be right about here, and the chat feature as well. I think that's all. I don't have to tell you about any Wi-Fi or any restroom locations or fire exits since we're all virtual. So let's go ahead and kick it off. Our first topic will be with Ryan, and I'll let him do whatever more intro he would like, but we're really happy to have him join as a leader for this, well, starting this month. This is the first time we've had him, and he's also presenting for us. So super appreciate his help and his offer to present. Brian, off to you.
Great, thank you. So for those of you who may not know, just last year, right before the Tableau conference, the 2019 conference, Tableau was acquired by Salesforce. And part of that acquisition was a plan to migrate their community forums to the software that Salesforce uses. That's the Lightning interface. For those of you who use Salesforce, you might notice that it doesn't really look like the Salesforce forums, but it is the same software. So recently, Tableau completely revamped their community website. And I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of what that looks like, how to navigate it, and what the user group interface looks like, how you might submit a question on the forums, and just what the new look overall is. Real quick, one of the panelists, can you wave if you see my screen? Okay, thanks, Prem. Cool, so let's get going. So there's a brand new design. So you'll see the old design on the left, clean cut and classic. We all know that design. And it's not too different, but they have sort of moved things around on the website. Things don't quite live where they used to. So there is a little bit of searching to be done when you first get there. So when you first log in and first make an account, you'll actually be met with this new account walkthrough, which I think is really helpful. And it sort of pushes people to complete their profiles in such a way that makes it a little more helpful to interact with folks. You can really tell throughout the website that the goal is to foster that interaction between people and to encourage folks to not only ask questions, but jump in and answer the questions that they may know, as well as use that website as a community spot for the Tableau user groups. So you'll be met with profile questions, which products you actually use so that you can get more targeted information, which groups you might want to jump into, whether you want to receive emails. There's tour videos that you can see. They do one first like walkthrough video when you first log in, which is nice, and then you can get rolling right away with some quick links. So getting started, the first thing that I would do is go straight to the first time here page if it doesn't take you there automatically. So up at the top bar, there's a getting started menu. And it outlines sort of what their vision is for this new site. Forum guidelines, code of conduct, so essentially what you can or should and should not be doing or saying throughout the forums, depending on where you're at. Obviously, nothing offensive, that type of thing. And tips for attaching workbooks and how to anonymize data. So there is sort of some best practices that you should be following for attaching workbooks in such a way that if someone does then download the attachment that you provided as an example of your problem, that they are, number one, able to open it, and number two, able to actually see and interact with the data that you intended them to. And that has to do with how you package and export your workbook. And then how to anonymize your data, because a lot of us are using either personally identifiable information or data that's subject to secrecy or not allowed to be publicly released. You should think about strategically how you can anonymize your data or generate dummy data sets to ask your question in a secondary way. That way you can apply it to your workbook. And then the next three links are all about learning and practicing and getting better at all of the tools you may use that are related to Tableau. E-learning is great for those of you who had the opportunity to sign up for the free 90-day license. That was what e-learning was. Lots of different tracks that you can follow for that. Best practices for data visualization and training. Lots of free resources there, but there are also some paid ones if you're interested in having a more structured, certified approach to how you learn the tool. And then a couple extra links down at the bottom that they actually added recently, what do idea statuses mean, and answer questions. That'll take you right to some places. These were actually common questions when forums first opened. What do idea statuses mean? Well, that gets at flags that you can essentially put on questions, and I'm not going to dive into that too much, but unanswered questions is essentially where if you are wanting to be very helpful and jump in and start answering questions for people, this takes you right to that section where you can see questions that no one has actually provided any guidance on yet. So this is what it looks like when we jump in and look at the forums. On the front page, you'll see a box that says Get Answers. So that's what this is on the left. When you click that, you'll be brought to this forums page. You have the choice to, at the top there, pick the software that you might want to be searching for an answer about, or that you might want to be answering questions about if you're trying to be helpful. And there's a topic for everything. There's a topic for different types of data. There are topics for the different softwares. There's topics for different industries. And this really helps you sort of zoom in the world where you might fit in the forums. But you don't have to do that. You can explore the community discussions down at the bottom as well and let that guide you. So the first section is the best answers section. So this actually lets you see the top posts out there for the things that have been answered. So these are all the things that have a best answer. So you see that green check there. And that's essentially saying that the person who asked this question is acknowledging that their question was answered, and they give a little bit of credit to that person who answered it. And you can sort this feed by how popular things were or how recent they were posted. You can click on unanswered questions to see the most recent or the most popular posts to answer if you're looking to be helpful. You can sort through all the topics, and here's basically a breakdown of all those different things that I mentioned, where you could jump into the forum section that makes the most sense for you. Maybe you don't know Tableau Public very well, but you know desktop really well, and so you want to zoom in a little bit. So you could do that from here. And then all activity, this allows you to sort of sort, also including the comments that people leave. So for instance, this one says it was from 5 hours ago, but someone actually left a comment 1 minute ago. So you can see things as they evolve if you want. Something I don't have a slide for, but is important to acknowledge is that if you do interact with someone on the forums and you've left a comment or you made a post, you will receive notifications if other folks interact with you as well. So when you log in, there's a little bell in the top right-hand corner next to your little picture, and that'll let you know, sort of like Facebook, if you have any interactions that you should respond to. There's also direct messaging if someone wants to ask you something in private. So asking a question on any one of the forum pages on the right-hand side, you'll see this button. And it's important to make sure to navigate to the appropriate forum section for your question. The reason I say that is because that attributes certain tags to your post so that other folks who might be wanting to help you can actually will have the right expertise, number one, and can actually get to your question appropriately. So if I'm asking a question about Tableau Prep, I'm going to click Tableau Prep first, and then I will click Ask a Question. And when you do that, you will be met with this screen. And the post to box should be auto-filled with Tableau Prep or Tableau Desktop. You can change that. There are some other options that you can pick, but being in the right section of the website helps the system to sort of pre-fill some of the things that you want. You can enter your question there and add more details below. Be descriptive. I'll encourage you to be descriptive if you're asking a question, and definitely include a workbook and or a data source. When folks ask questions, often they're operating within their own industry and their own mindset within that industry, and tend to leave out details that folks in other industries might need in order to help solve a technical question. Sales is a common thing. I like to get on the forums and help, but I don't know all the sales lingo or specifics. So if I don't have a lot of detail, then I might not be able to help with some of those things because I live in the healthcare public health space. So you're more likely to get good answers if you provide good detail. And then down at the bottom, add a topic. So again, to make sure your post is more accessible and more searchable and people find you and want to answer your question, go ahead and add keywords. So Tableau Desktop, merging, sorting, what is the problem that you're having? Try and describe those with 1 or 2 word keywords. And then go ahead and hit ask down at the bottom. And you'll notice there's a little paperclip here for you to actually attach your packaged workbook. Cool. Let's talk about the user groups a little bit. So up at the top bar as well, there's a Get Connected bar. And the first link you'll see is the Find User Groups link. And there's also user group events like this one, where you can find listings of what everyone is doing, a user group FAQ, and meet the ambassadors. So the ambassadors are our forum ambassadors, and they are out there very actively all the time to help you with your questions. They are by far the most active people trying to ensure everyone's success with the tool. And they work closely alongside a lot of different Tableau groups. One of those is the Zen Master group, and we're going to talk with one of the Zen Masters later today. So this is what it looks like when you go to find user groups. There's lots and lots of different user groups. You can sort it however you like. One of the ways you could do it is by number of users. You could do it by how active is the group, the latest activity, and you can search by city and see if anyone's near you or your industry. So you can see on the right-hand side here, I'm a member of Baltimore, Washington, D.C., healthcare, and job listings, because I like to see the Tableau jobs that are being posted out there. And in being a member of these things, I get updates about those groups when they happen. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like. I'm going to stop sharing here for a sec and pull up my user group. And reshare. Okay, so here we are in the user group section. I'm going to go ahead and hop into the healthcare user group. And inside the user group, there's a full forum where you can post questions. You can also post polls if you have something that you want to put to the group, maybe about, I've seen in the Baltimore user group before, we've done where do we want to go for happy hour after the user group, or what features are you excited about, things like that. It can be formal or informal, as well as asking more like forum type questions where people are asking about public health data, or in this case, the Pareto chart, and how to do things. So you can do that with more focused on your local group if you're looking to get some help specifically from healthcare people or from Baltimore people. And you can see who's a member and description of the group. Not very different from the overall forum, but again, focused in on the industry or the group that you may be interested in. And that is it. And so if anyone has any questions, feel free to hop on the Q&A or in the chat. And,
we did have one come in so far, Ryan, that you might not know. Maybe Alyssa can jump in if you don't.
Gotcha.
We had someone ask why most of the community posts are private, because they're getting an error saying they're not authorized to view. And I noticed that when you were doing that demo, it said public on top of the healthcare one.
Right.
So is related.
So some groups are private, so you can have for instance, I work for the Maryland Department of Health. I can create a private Maryland Department of Health group that is specific to those people, that has sort of delegated access. So I can pick and choose who might get access to that private group. There are a ton of public groups, however, that you can access. I will also say this before I forget. In the migration from the old forums to the new forums, you might have found that for about a month or so, if you Googled a problem, let's say you're having a problem in Tableau and you Googled something and it came up with a community forums result in the Google search and you clicked that, you were met with a screen that brought you nowhere. So in the migration, there were some issues mapping the old site to the new site. But in the past few days, they actually have fixed that. So your Google searches should bring you to the appropriate tickets that were in existence before. We didn't actually lose out on all that vast repository of information that was out there already. And I do see some other questions in the chat. How do I get to the site itself? The site itself is community.tableau.com. So I'll go ahead and share my screen again because the other question does ask a question that I can show you. So here's the website, community.tableau.com, up here at the top. Okay, and the other question I got in the chat there was, how do I join a group? So let's go back to the user groups page. And I'm gonna look at what the most popular groups are. So let's do most number of members and see what's out there. And let's see here. I'm going to join Data Plus Women. And I can just hit the join button. And my groups, it doesn't show it because it only shows 4, but I can now hop into that group here. I can also go to my specific profile page to see all of my groups. But it's as easy as that. You do a quick search or a filter for the group that you want, or the city, or the industry. And if it's public, it happens that quickly. There's really no approval waiting or process. Okay, cool. Let's look at the chat again.
I think that's all the questions we had.
So, yep. So maybe I'm sure there will be a lot of questions coming up. So maybe panelists can monitor the chat window and we can answer the question in an ad hoc way.
If you're I'll make a general statement too. If you're running into some like technical issues on the site that seem like bugs, as Ryan mentioned, they're still working through some updates and just porting things over, etc. So if something doesn't seem to be working one day, I would suggest maybe checking it out tomorrow, or doing a refresh or clearing your cookies, etc., to see if that resets things. I know Tableau's been working really hard to get everything ready, but I don't think that they would claim it's flawless quite yet. So patience, and then of course, if something seems like it's a bug, I would say it's safe to assume that there might still be a handful of those out there today.
Very possible. Okay, thank you.
Sure thing. Thanks, Ryan. So our next activity will be an interactive trivia game. If you joined us for the previous meeting, you're familiar with our fun interactive trivia. So Prim and his team at Blend 360 put this together for us, and I'll pass it over to you guys.
Sure. Thanks, Andrea. Yep. I know we are tight on time, so we should probably jump in straight away. So of course, when we meet in person, we try to have our networking session, talk about Tableau features and certain functionalities that's available in Tableau. We can't do it now, so instead we have this quiz, and it went well last time, and we want to keep doing it on an ongoing basis. So Viraj from Blend 360 has put together this time a pretty good quiz. So it's going to be online. You will see the instruction slide. Please follow the instructions. It will be a fun event, and it's like so you get to see who's on the leaderboard and so on. For this, we don't have any swags. Usually we give swags to the winners, but we'll make sure that from next time onwards, we will find a way to get you some kind of e-swag, whatever it is, or e-store gift card, so that you can purchase the swags on Tableau store website. So yeah, I'll turn this to Viraj. Viraj, why don't you kick off with the instructions and get started with the quiz.
Sure. Thank you, Prem. I'm sharing my screen. Can the panelists let me know when you can see it? All right, thank you. So thank you all again for joining us today. Like Andrea mentioned, the Tableau Trivia was a huge success in the last iteration of the Tableau user group meeting. So we decided to have it in this iteration as well. I would request you all to go to this website, which is called menti.com, and use this code to enter the quiz. We'll wait for a few seconds so that everyone can join. While everyone is finding the way to menti.com, I'll just describe the rules of this game and what the structure is going to be like. So this is going to be a simple quiz with a mixture of a few easy questions, a few medium ones, and not many, but a few hard ones. There'll be 10 questions in all that will be related to the Tableau product, community, and the Tableau events. Everyone will get 20-second stops for reading the question and answering each question. We have a concept called fastest fingers first, wherein participants who answer faster get more points. I would like to call out one thing, that you can use your laptop browser or your mobile phone browser to get connected to menti.com and make sure you use the code. But I would really encourage you to toggle between your devices or your browser windows so that you can see my screen where we'll show the leaderboard and explanation of the questions. And you can also use your other tab or other device to answer these questions. Hopefully, I hope everyone had a chance to get to the website and have everything set up. Let's see. Okay, that's great. We have a bunch of participants. I'll wait for, say, 5 seconds more before we get started. So in addition to the 10 main questions that we have in the game, we have 3 sample questions so that you all can get acquainted to the structure of this quiz, how the format is going to be like. Although I would again like to call out that, however, it's a sample question, I really encourage all of you to religiously answer them. These are a few survey type questions which help us know more about our audience. So I think we are good, and let's get started with the sample questions. All right, that's the first one. All right. So it looks like we have a majority of our participants from BC, but we have a good number of representation from all our user groups participating. As it's really encouraging to see we have a lot of participants who are at their first start. So kudos to you guys for joining us today. Let's get on with our second question. All right. Okay, so we have a lot of experienced people here, but again, a lot of fresh Tableau users. So that's really good to see. So you, everyone who is participating here, you'll see a text box where you can type in your answers. So this is more to see how the data prep looks like in our strong Tableau community here. Okay, it looks like, oh, Excel looks like it's in the lead. That's interesting. Okay, I think we have a winner. It looks like it's Excel. That's nice. All right, let's move ahead. And from here on, we are moving on to our main questions. So gear up, and all the best to all our participants. All right, so looks like a majority of us got it right. So this is the format we'll follow. We'll see a question, we see the leaderboard, and as we move along the game, we'll get to see how the leaderboard stacks up. So IronViz is a really, really great forum or platform where people can actually contribute to. And this year was a particularly interesting one because this year's IronViz saw close to 370 entries. And the interesting part here is 86% of them were first-time participants. So that's a really, really good news for the Tableau community that more people are trying to contribute and join in. Let's move on to the next question. All right, that's nice.
If there's more than one person with the same name, you can find your icon to make sure that it's you, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm a lollipop. I'm not even on the chart.
All right. So the correct answer here was date part. So although all these functions pertain to the date type of functions in Tableau, but date part actually returns an integer. So that's the answer. Let's move on to our next question. All right. So it looks like people got caught up in there. But so preferences or TPS is actually a file in the My Tableau Repository folder on your computing machine, wherein it's really a simple or a basic XML file that looks something like this. You can add the tags that read preferences, and you can import all your custom color palettes, which you can later use in Tableau. So this was that. Let's move on to the next question. All right. That's great. Let's look at the explanation. So this is a really useful feature or a useful function in Tableau, wherein in Tableau, whenever you add anything to null, the output is always going to be null. So this function will actually help you bypass that scenario. And that's our answer. Let's move on to question number 5. This is a pretty familiar area for most of our users. So this is the folder where you can actually import all your custom shapes that you can later use in your Tableau workbook. It's called Shapes, which is found inside my Tableau repository. And let's move on to the next one. So we are halfway through our quiz, and this is how the leaderboard stacks up. Looks like a good competition in there. It's a lot of close participants. We still have half the quiz to go. All right. So this is a feature I'm pretty sure most of the Tableau developers here are really familiar with, because every time there's a slightest of the change on the data side, you see all those red pills popping up on your Tableau desktop screen, and something that every developer hates. So this feature actually comes to a rescue when you can just replace references and you're good to go. With that, let's move on to our seventh question. All right. So although Tableau does take in decimal numbers, but it's not called float. It's actually called numbers with decimal written in parentheses, which you can find like you see on your screen. All right, let's move on to the tail end of our quiz to question number 8.
I see a number of you mentioning how stressful this is. We're just trying to keep you on your toes.
All right, so we have only a few people who answered false. So what's interesting to note here is parameters is a part of the data pane, and which does allow duplicate names that can be added to parameters. So that's exactly what we were trying to capture there, because often we tend to forget that parameters are still a part of the data pane. With that, let's move on to question number 9.
Yeah, we should probably say this as this quiz as a prep for any certification, Tableau certification people would take.
Yeah, I was thinking I will not work right now. I will take a break for a few hours.
All right, looks like most of us got it right. And here's what the leaderboard looks like with only, I guess, only one question to go. We have still a tough competition in there. So that's good to see.
Don't worry, everyone. I'm in 37th place.
Right. So this is the entire list of features that were rolled out with Tableau 2018.2, which enabled the extensions gallery, which was a direct beneficiary of the extensions API. With that, let's move on to our last question. Gear up, everybody. This is your chance to win. Let's see what the question is. So we actually tried to hide a hint for this question in the previous one, because TSM is something that was rolled out in Tableau 2018.2, and you could see it on the release notes at the top, wherein TSM stood for Tableau Services Manager. With that, we conclude our quiz. Thank you everybody for being so enthusiastic and participating in the Tableau Trivia. Let's see who our winner is. And looks like, oh, Tom Dobro, that's our winner. Congratulations, Tom. And that concludes our quiz. And with that, I would yield to Andrea or Prem. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Viraj. It was great. Thanks for putting this together. Appreciate it. I know we are tight on time, so I'm going to quickly jump on to the next topic. I think we have very good presenters lined up and a good content there. So Andrea, off to you.
Sure. Thanks again. I'll let everyone know I finished 38th place, so don't be embarrassed. We're all just here to try and learn. Next, we have two representatives from Lupin. We have Tyler Smith and Meredith Price here to present to us on their use of landing pages. We're super happy to have them. They're volunteers, so we definitely appreciate them. Feel free to connect after the meeting so we can do some networking with them and say thank you. A little background, Tyler went to Georgetown University and then got his MBA at LSU. He loves data like most of us and process improvement projects, and he also enjoys putting his own spin on HelloFresh meals. I am a stickler to sticking exactly to the recipe, so good for you, Tyler. Meredith Price completed her undergrad at Towson University, go Tigers, and she's currently pursuing her MBA at Frostburg. She also loves analyzing data and presenting it to end users to make decisions. Her favorite quarantine hobby includes Saturday morning bike rides or runs. Thank you again to both of you for joining us, and we can jump right into your presentation. I'm excited to see your content.
Awesome, thank you. All right, I'll share my screen. All right. All right, so I'll skip over the introduction because I think Andrew covered it pretty well. So thank you for that. Let me just put in PowerPoint mode. All right, so I'm Tyler. I work at Lupin Pharmaceuticals. Basically, we are a pharmaceutical company located in Baltimore, Maryland. Within our organization, there's a brand side and there's also a generic side. So I lead analytics on the generic side. So that is basically supply chain, finance, AR, customer service, marketing, sales, and analytics. So when I came over to Lupin, I also brought Tableau with me. So we are about a year into our Tableau journey, and I'm excited to share what we have so far. All right, so the real reason for our Tableau journey, when I got to Lupin, we were a very Excel-heavy organization. We really lacked a reporting schedule. There was a lot of different data silos. Data was really just coming from every which way. So we really wanted to add Tableau to kind of add a layer that allowed different departments to really connect with each other. And so the main way that reports were really getting to our end users were by Excel. So every month, at the end of the month, we would just send out Excel reports, and we really wanted to get away from that. So really when we started our transition to Tableau, as you see on the left-hand side, you'll see a general Excel report that was actually out there, and then we started to transition over to Tableau. When we were really transitioning, one thing I really tried to focus on is keeping it similar to what the end users were already comfortable with seeing, just so they can get comfortable with the reports and what they were seeing and being able to actually navigate. So as you see, there's KPIs at the top. Everything is pretty much the same as what you're seeing in the Excel file. So what we were finding that, our Tableau journey was going pretty well. We had about 5 or 6 reports out there at the time, but we realized that our end users were still having trouble locating where the reports were located. So what we wanted to do was really just create a landing page that allowed the end users to go to one place. So our landing page was really just a way to kind of combine all the different departments together to really create that sense of community. really we were creating that landing page because no matter if you were using Tableau for 6 years or if you were new to Tableau, we really just wanted to create that level playing field and remove any intimidation that came with Tableau. I mean, we all been there. We all kind of started off with Tableau, and you know, the startup process can be tough for some people. So what really makes a great landing page? So one thing I really tried to follow was the 5 whys. So who, what, when, where, why. So who's this report for? When and will it be available? Why do we have this report? Where is the report located? And so forth. Another big thing we wanted to talk about and we wanted to really hone in on was the ease of navigation. That was really big for us, making sure no matter, again, if you were new to Tableau or new to our platform, you were still able to find what you're looking for. And then the big thing that I always try to do with my landing pages or any dashboards that I'm creating is really listen and answer questions before they're actually asked, right? Really take myself out of the analyst standpoint and really go into, all right, I'm sitting in a leadership role essentially, or I'm sitting from the sales rep. So really thinking outside of, you know, where you're currently sitting and putting yourself in the end user's shoes. And then what I ended up using for a background for this landing page was a common deck that's circulated inside Lupin. So just so people could have that sense of understanding and some type of comfort as to, hey, I've seen this before, and it's just on a Tableau server. Okay. So one big thing too that I really like to do, I really like to kind of outline what I'm going to create before I actually build it out. So as you can see at the top, we have the navigation bar. Then in the left-hand corner, we also have the 6 dashboards that I was referencing earlier. And then I knew we were continuously building this process, so I wanted to also add in additional resources right next to it. And then at the bottom, I think it's always important to add the created by, just so people know who is actually creating these landing pages or dashboards. So this was the first pass that we created. Here you can see at the top, going back to the navigation area, I thought that the top left-hand corner for me is really important. It's usually what end users are primarily looking at when they first open the page, right? So the report schedule was really important for us, education, the workbooks, the data sources, submit requests, and then at the bottom I used icons and really highlighted those 6 dashboards, right? So as you look at this, you really can see the transition of, hey, what I really outlined to what was actually created. So I think it really helped me when I was kind of building this, because outlining really gave me that sense of, all right, I know what I want to do and how do I put this down into an actual dashboard as well. All right. So the art of playing catchball, I think this is really big. So when we actually launched our landing page, it was great because we got a ton of feedback. But a lot of times with feedback, you can get a lot of noise as well. So really the big thing is kind of deciphering, you know, which feedback is good. A lot of times users will say, hey, we want to do this, but you really have to, you know, get down to the nitty gritty and understand, does the end user really want to do this? Or, you know, will this actually solve some of those problems as well? I think a big thing too is really listening to keywords. So the keywords that you keep hearing over and over and over, and then listen to the questions that are being asked. So one big question that we were being asked was, can we extract the PDF? Can we extract the Excel? Just because the way our organization is really set up. So, and I also really, really believe that people will support what they help create. So really having that interactive conversation with your end users and really trying to understand what they want out of it, but also taking in their feedback and adjusting your dashboards or landing pages, whatever you're creating. So from the art of playing catchball, we ended up going with a landing page that looked more like this. So earlier I mentioned that we had 6 different departments. So you can see that the departments are labeled across the top. Every department's reports that are currently in our environment are labeled or directly under the department's name. At the top left-hand corner too, you can see that we have a button for extract the PDF, Tableau user manual, and then on the right-hand side, we have our report schedule and other resources as well. Okay, so basically, how do we build this? So on the back end, it's really just dummy data, and I can walk through a little bit as to how it's built. We use URL actions, tooltips, and a tile layout. I'll switch over to my actual Tableau desktop. So, all right, so this is how it's actually built right now. So if I wanted to add to it really quick, say I wanted to add a Tableau user group to it really quick. So let's do time there. I'll drop that onto text. All right, so we have that there. I just want to make sure that is centered and it's boom. Okay, great. So I'll come over to my landing page. I'm going to grab it. I'm just going to drop it into logistics for now. So what we're seeing is it's not to the full view. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it. I'm going to fit it to the entire view. I'm going to hide the title and boom. If I wanted to update that way, right? So another big thing is, well, how do we connect the actual URL? So here I go to Tableau user group. All right. Just gonna grab this really quick. I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna go over to my dashboard, go to actions. So you can see that there's already a ton of actions here. So I'm just gonna add a new action and go to URL. I'm gonna call it 2G. I'm gonna come in here. I'm just gonna get rid of all these. Make sure that these are selected. Cool, we are live. All right, so I'm gonna put my URL in and I'm gonna also change it to select because I only want it to come up when I actually select it. All right, so I have TUG, we're gonna click TUG, we're gonna apply it really quick, click OK. So if we go here, you actually can see we are referenced to our Tableau user group page as well. So really, really cool. So other ways that we really use this is we have this feature extracted PDF in Excel. So we created internal documents. A lot of times we will use Google Drive for our documents. So what you'll be able to see is if you click here, it gives users the ability to understand how to actually do that within our Tableau environment as well. Another cool one too that we have data dictionary, but submit a request. So I think this one was really cool because a lot of times people will ask us, hey, can you guys start building something for us? Or hey, I don't have access to that dashboard. So what users can actually come in and do, put their name, their email, their department, and what they are looking for, and then they can submit the form and it's actually sent to our analytics team as well. So those are some of the cool ways that we are kind of using, and we also have a user manual too, which I think is really, really awesome. So we have a user manual that's already out there on our Google Drive as well. So you can see it as all that information. So if you're building, we have our dashboard standards, how dashboards should be published, what is the right and correct way to actually do those type of things. And then last but not least, we have our report schedule. So if you hover over here, you can see when our dashboards are coming out, when our data sources will be updated, and that information to that level as well. So I'm going to actually stop here. I'm actually going to pass it to Meredith.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay. So I, like Andrea said earlier, went to Towson, graduated from Frostburg. I work with Tyler on the analytics team, but I mainly have a focus with working with the sales reps and supporting them. So I support them with a lot of pricing requests and also kind of maintain our monthly sales report. So originally, kind of, as Tyler kind of mentioned before, we had multiple data sources for the sales report. There were 2 different reports, and our main goal was just to combine them and kind of figure out the best way to get a consistent view across the customers and across the different products. So it kind of eliminated a lot of common problems. So if it was too large to send out and it kind of lacked flexibility, there was no KPIs, and we couldn't connect to other department data sources because it was just a static Excel file. So the first thing we did was transition to the normal pivot tables, as Tyler mentioned. But as time went on, we added more higher level views So this is kind of something, it's a little bit dummied down without our actual data, but this is kind of something that we built out, kind of more high-level views for those leadership teams and kind of different views that people hadn't seen before. So as we were getting the users more comfortable with these different views, and we had a lot of these different views, we ran into a new problem. So across the top, there were just so many different tabs within one report. So through different brainstorming options, we figured we would kind of do a new, kind of similar to the landing page, but you can do it within the sales report. So this is what it looks like now. So the each one of the boxes and titles is one of the different dashboards, and the user can kind of, they can click into it, navigate to the dashboard, and then navigate back to the sales report overview page. So I will actually kind of back out and I'll show you guys how it was built. So kind of similar here, this is the Lupin Analytics landing page. So as Tyler had showed you, this link can go back to our landing page overall. So I think it's just a great way, once you navigate to the report, it kind of allows the user to navigate back to the landing page. So in case, I mean, I know from my side of things, a lot of times I navigate between our sales report and our contract price report. So just kind of being able to navigate more easily between the different reports. And then let's see. So if we go back here to our sales report overview page, so that one is built using the worksheets. However, these across the top, these are using the navigation buttons down here. So if I drag a new button out here, so it'll look like this at first. And then if you edit the button, there you'll see there's two options. So the two options is an image button and a text button. So the texts are across the top and then the images are at the bottom. So say we want to do a text, and then you would just select the individual sheet that you're going to. So select the sheet, and then you can enter text. So say buying group, add a little border, background. You can enter tooltip information, so maybe if you wanted to explain a little bit more about the dashboard, you could do that there. And then here we have our title for the dashboard. And then here we can do the same thing, but just do the image. So now you can see when I select the image, I can go to the buying group overview dashboard that we had built out. And then also kind of similar to the landing page, the Lupin Analytics landing page link that you can go back to the landing page, we built it out so that you could go back to the sales report overview page and then navigate to any of the additional views within the dashboard as well. So kind of coming back here as well, we have, you can use the URL action, which takes you outside of the dashboard. And then if you're navigating within the report and dashboards, you use either the image button or the text button. And then a few other things that we found kind of that helped make the dashboards more user-friendly. Having that link back to the overview page, and then also a reset filter option, which has that ability. So we often have a lot of filters on our dashboard just for the end users to select between finding individual SKUs or looking at individual customers. So having that ability to just reset and clear the filters just definitely helps make things a little bit smoother for the end user. So with that, that's the end of the presentation, and we can open it up for some questions.
Thank you both. We did have a couple of questions come in. I'm checking. We just got some good feedback asking for walkthroughs, which we ended up doing. Those demos were great. In terms of the Q&A, let's see, I think our first question was if you all are using Tableau Server or Tableau Online.
So we are using Tableau Online.
Okay. And then the next question was if you have to install the landing page background on the server. I know you talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, so maybe I could just show really quick. I'll share. So basically what we do is the way we install it is at the top right-hand corner on your, if you have system admin rights, you can change it to make everyone have, like make that their own page. So when we uploaded that dashboard, essentially we made everyone have that as well.
Okay, and then the next question, I think we answered is the landing page a Tableau dashboard? So yeah, we got that one. And then another question says, how does it open to the landing page after logging into the Tableau server?
So I can like walk you through that as well really quick. So basically it just opens right up. I could, let me see, let me share. Basically, if we go to Tableau Online really quick. High-speed internet over here. I'll log in really quick. Basically, it just opens up to this page essentially, and then if anyone has a question, see the tooltips, the title, purpose, frequency, upload date, data source owner. So sure, it seems like it's still loading.
Okay, well, we have one more question while that's loading. It says, does each box on the dashboard pull from a worksheet? I think we kind of answered that one because they all went different places. But
yeah, yes, it does.
One more come in terms of the dashboard request form, I've heard that Server now has a method of providing this in the latest version. However, you guys did your own custom form. I was curious if you had tried this new feature of Tableau Online.
I haven't. The way we came about it was using Google Sheets, since Google Sheets connects directly to Tableau. So it really just updates every day for us. So in the morning, we'll get an update as to if there are any requests are out there.
Also, if anyone else in the group has any experience of using that new feature, you can always respond in the webinar chat box so that the rest of our attendees can see your use case also. Last call for questions before we move on to Chantilly. Anyone else in the chat or in the Q&A? Okay. Thank you so much, Tyler and Meredith. That was super fun. I love seeing, I would never personally get to implement anything like that. So that's why I love being able to be a part of the user group. We don't have a use case for that, but it's super fun to see how it works. And I can imagine that a number of people in the user group would find that useful for their organization. So thanks for walking us through that in the PowerPoints as well as the demos, because I think those are super helpful as well.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
Let's see. I think up next we have, yes, our Q&A with Tableau Zen Master Chantilly, and I'll pass it over to Prim to kick that off.
Thanks, Andrea. Yeah, before I get into this Q&A, folks, we are actively looking for speakers and presenters. So if you have any good content that you feel like the community will be benefited of, feel free to contact us. I'm quickly going to send our email ID in the chat window. You have my email ID, Andrea and Ryan's. So feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to talk with you guys, review our content, and bring it to light. Okay.
Yes, and also I'll piggyback on that really quickly. If you're willing to present and you don't have a topic, that's also an option. We're happy to suggest some that people have shown interest in as well. But yeah, thanks, Prim, for pointing that out. Love having speakers volunteer.
Yep. All right, without any further ado, we will get going. This is probably one of the highlight of this user group meeting. We have Chantilly Jaggernauth here, who is a Tableau Zen Master, and she has been Tableau Zen Master for 2 years. Chantilly, thank you for joining us here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. And this is the first time we are doing something like this. So we want to see how this goes. It's going to be an interactive Q&A. I'll moderate the questions. I'll start with a quick bio. I know 30 to 40% of the attendees today are from either Northern Virginia or DC or Baltimore user group, and you might know Chantilly, but there are a lot of new users as well. So I'll start with her bio, and I have a few questions. I'll kick off with those questions, but if you have any questions for her, feel free to use the Q&A box to type in your questions. But as I said, we have only 20 minutes, so this could be episode number 1, and we may end up doing a few more with her. But the key thing here is it's going to be something general, something you would like to know about her journey, her Tableau experience, and how someone should go about what they want to do in Tableau and where they want to build their career and so on. So let the questions be of that nature and not coming down to a Tableau doctor session of how do I do this, how do I do that. I think that could be saved for something else. Okay, so Chantilly, I mean, I've known her for some time. I live in suburbs of Philadelphia, and she was associated with the Philadelphia Tableau user group. So we have known her for a few years. I've been following her. One thing I can say her is she's definitely doing a lot to the Tableau community. So, so I really appreciate that. And she's right now Vice President of Data Visualization and Training at Launatics. It's based out of Arlington, Virginia. Prior to joining Launatics, she worked at Johnson & Johnson and Comcast. She also is a founder and CEO of not-for-profit organization, Millennials and Data, #MAD. I would definitely encourage you guys to check it out. And she's very active in training, mentoring, preparing millennials to enter the data-driven global environment. Her journey, she started working on Tableau like 10 years back. And maybe I should check what was the version. I don't know. I mean, it was 8, 9, 10. So I don't know if it was Tableau 1 or 2. You have to think about it. So yeah, she started her journey 10 years back, worked almost 6 years at Johnson & Johnson and then Comcast. And now she's holding this vice president role. And as I said, she's a Zen master and a well-known Tableau public ambassador, featured author, conference speaker, and I don't know if you guys followed or attended the 2019 conference. She was one of the judge of IronViz competition. Her hobbies include basketball, reading, and learning. Right now, she's reading the book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. So that's her background. So thanks again for joining us. I would like to kick off with some questions, and feel free to use the Q&A window to shoot your questions. So Chantilly, the first question I have for you is, what surprises you the most about your Tableau journey so far, and what can we expect from you? I mean, of course, you have reached a point where you're a Tableau Zen Master. So how did you get there? What was the surprise, and what next?
I would say what definitely surprised me the most about my journey was the impact that the community really had on my journey. So even though I began using Tableau about 10 years ago, I didn't become involved in the community until I started working for Comcast. And one of the interview questions was, you know, are you a part of the Tableau community? And I was like, what is that? Like, do I answer forum questions? Like, what do you mean? And my interviewer, Josh Tapley at the time, told me about, you know, the Tableau community, the community projects. Makeover Monday was a new project that was just getting started. And I decided to learn more about it, right? If this world-known organization is asking if I'm a part of this community, then it's obviously something that's really important and something that I want to be a part of and continue to use to enhance my journey. So I went to Tableau Public. I started seeing all these really cool visualizations that I didn't even know could be built in Tableau, right? A lot of users, they go from Excel or some legacy system to Tableau, and they're pretty much replicating what they built, you know, prior to Tableau. So they're not doing anything beyond just what they're used to looking at, you know, pivot tables and whatnot. So I saw these visualizations that looked like infographics on Tableau Public, and I was like, wow, I didn't even know you could build that type of stuff. So from there, I started getting involved in community projects. I started downloading work and reverse engineering it, you know, figuring out how individuals did this. And I learned about user groups as well about 5-6 years ago. And I started attending user groups, and I would say that last July, I was attending the DC user group, and my boss and I, we knew each other. My current boss and I, we knew each other, the founder of Lovelytics, through the community. And he saw that, or he heard that I was trying to come back to DC, and he offered me a job following a community event, right? We were at a happy hour, and it just so happened that we were networking. He was like, hey, you know, like, I'm expanding the company, you know, if you want to come lead data visualization for us, then the position is there. And I ended up accepting. So I think what surprised me the most is really the impact that the community has had on my career.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. A funny comment would be, yes, I'm missing the happy hour too. So that's a definitely good networking and social event, especially after the user group meeting. That's been the routine, right? So, I mean, you spoke about infographic and getting involved in Tableau Public and so on. And you came from, if I look at your career, you started at Johnson & Johnson, which is like a maybe Fortune 10 or Fortune 20 company, and then Comcast, again, same category. So I consider them as enterprise or corporate world, and now you're working for a service company. So when it comes to defining someone as good at Tableau, how would you evaluate them? What would you say as skills you would look for? Is it the infographic side? Is it certain BI skills? How would you see it? I mean, you have been on both the sides, so I want to get your perspective on it.
Definitely. So I would say, like, in both sides of it, right? If you're a Tableau developer or you're working as an analyst, all analysts are given requirements from someone. So you need to be able to have communication skills and learn how to gather requirements and know how to effectively gather requirements from your end users. And that's more than just asking, hey, what do you want in this dashboard? You know, there's a method to it, there's a process to it. So communication skills is definitely big, knowing how to ask the right questions. I would also say there are two types of individuals in Tableau, or the world of Tableau, that I've seen. There are people who are really good with the front end visualization, making it look pretty, right? Your visualization experts. And then you have your analysts who are good at exploring the data in Tableau, figuring out that insight, but they may struggle a little bit in terms of trying to create a compelling story to give back to end users. And typically those two individuals end up working very closely together. But I would say when I'm hiring for a Tableau developer, I would like someone who kind of has both sides of that, right? You don't have to be perfect in data visualization or perfect in analysis, but I do feel like if you are a data visualizer, you need to have some form of analysis in your background, right? So to understand, right, when should you be using the mean versus the median, right? Those are just some key things that you need to understand. And I feel like having an analytical hat can help you understand those things. So I would say someone who can effectively communicate, someone who knows how to dive a little bit deeper into the data. You don't necessarily have to like transform the data. There are data engineers that know how to do that. Tableau's data model is pretty good. But I would say you should know how to analyze data effectively, and you also should know how to create a compelling story to give back to your end users.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. So I see a question. I don't know if there is any difference. Are you a front-end Zen master or a back-end Zen master? I don't know if there is a two categorization there.
I don't know exactly what the person who asked the question is referring to. I know in terms of, if you're thinking in terms of like back-end Zen master, individuals who are more familiar with the ins and outs of the backend and how Tableau is developed and like the query side of it, the server side of it, things like that. No, I'm not that person. I'm more on the, once the data is in Tableau, I can do modeling of the data in Tableau. I'm more of a calculations type of person. So I know how to create calculations and make Tableau do what I need it to do with a calc. And then I'm also more of your storyteller. And my team at Lovelytics in general, we are storytellers and we have a back end team. So I would, if I had to classify myself, I would say a front end Zen master.
Got it. Okay. All right. No, I think now I interpret the question well. Okay, I get it. So you spoke about building infographics, and I mean, I've attended a couple of your sessions. You post the dashboard, you build it. I think you post it on a Tableau public forum, and then you would host a webinar. I was impressed to see like you can build the same dashboard in like 30 minutes or 45 minutes. I know it comes with practice and it takes a lot of prep work and having things organized to really convey the content and deliver it in like the time period. So when it comes to someone new who is exposed to Tableau, because I come across it very often. I'm not talking about who are graduating and who's getting into the workforce. I'm also talking about experienced professionals who knows the certain business and who have been doing certain things for the last 5 years, 10 years, and so on. And now they are getting exposed to Tableau, but they are clueless on where to start, how to start. So what would you suggest when it comes to an experienced professional? What should they do? And what should be their game plan and milestones they should look for in the process of learning Tableau or getting to a level where they can say that they are comfortable with Tableau and they know what they can do better, what is their skill set, identify their skill set, and how they can do well in Tableau?
For sure. I personally think that this goes back to understanding your end users' requirements, because over the years I've picked up Power BI, I picked up Click, and I wouldn't say I'm an expert in them. I can say that I know how to effectively use them to do the things that I need them to do. And it goes back to understanding what do you need it to do, right? So and that goes back to your requirements. So if your end user is wanting to answer a business question of, what are the sales per category or what are the sales per region, regardless of the tool that you're using, you need to understand, all right, what dimension am I bringing in that's going to be your category or your region, and then you need to understand what measure am I bringing in, and that's going to be your sales. And regardless of the tool that you're in, it's easy to just go to like Tableau's help, knowledge, documentation, and see how to create a bar chart to now answer that. So I think it really goes back to what are you trying to answer, bringing that data into the tool and using the tool to answer that question. And that's how I got started with Tableau many years ago. I was given an assignment and my professor just said, make sense of this data. He didn't provide us any direction, but in order to make sense of this data, this new data in this new tool, I had to start to answer or question this data. What are some things I wanted to know about this data? And it was movie genre rating data. So I wanted to understand, all right, which genres are rated the highest, right? What is the average rating? And then you start to just drag those things into Tableau, and it starts to make sense. So you have to just question your data and let the tool, do its thing, start dragging and dropping to answer questions of your data. And that's how I learned Tableau. I never had any formal training on it. It was all from asking questions of my data.
Got it. Yep. And if I may add something to it, I mean, I think people are fortunate enough to start learning Tableau now. What I mean by that is 10 years back, this tool was not matured enough, and probably to do something, you have to go through a lot of cycles.
Yeah.
Now it's at a point where I can say that it's an enterprise tool, and things can be done in a much quicker way, and the user experience and the opportunity to get frustrated are very less here.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I see a few more questions coming in. How do you build storytelling skills? How does one improve as a storyteller?
It goes back to understanding the story. Everything, see the way I think of, the full analytics process is 9 times out of 10, it's going to start with your business users. It's going to start with your end users, unless you're doing an exploratory analysis, which is totally different, and you're trying to just dive deep into some data. 9 times out of 10, especially in the consulting world or even the corporate world, sometimes you're starting with your end user. You're starting with some of their requirements. You're starting with their questions, and you're trying to use data to answer their questions. And once you know the answers to their questions, you need to ask them, all right, what's the most important aspects of the questions that you're asking me, right? Which ones do you want answered at, at the highest level? And that's how you can start to formulate your story, right? If your end users want 10 different story points, you need to understand how to combine all of that together in a visual format in Tableau to kind of answer their questions. So I think storytelling, I think dashboarding, it all goes back to what is your end user looking for? What are some of the questions that they want answered? And if they don't have the questions there, because there are times you deal with end users who just don't know what they want, start to look at the data that you have and tell them or show them some of the questions that can be answered of that data, and have that discussion and go from there. I think sometimes individuals are a little scared of the design phase, a little scared of the storytelling phase, but I honestly think if you take it by a step-by-step approach of first understanding your end user and their requirements, and then creating a template before you start the development process in Tableau, then it will kind of speed up that storytelling process and make it 10 times better.
Got it. Yep. Good. I know I have to be sensitive about time. We have only 4 minutes. Obviously, we'll be interested to do more sessions with you, Chantilly, if you're available. I want to maybe close it with 2 questions. Of course, there is a lot of activities in Tableau community, and Zen Masters and Tableau ambassadors, and even the contests like Tableau themselves. They are organizing a lot of contests, be it Makeover Monday or Workout Wednesday, and the IronViz competition and so on. How do you keep up with all this information, and do you really try to know everything, or how do you handle this? Because this can be overwhelming, especially for folks who are into it on a day in and day out basis. And if someone is interested to follow starting today, it can be overwhelming for them as well. And how do you handle it, and any inputs for anyone who would start now?
So how I handle it now versus how I used to handle it are totally different. Now I set time aside for maybe about 30 minutes to an hour just dedicated to like LinkedIn and Twitter and interacting with the community. And then I might set aside some more time later in the night after my day has kind of died down, because there are a lot of community members now. There are a lot of Twitter posts, and I can't always keep up. I would say for someone now who is looking to get involved in the community, I would say get involved with a project within the community, because there are certain projects that have people who do those projects on a recurring basis, and they have like, there are like smaller groups within each of these community projects. I'll say start out by getting involved in a project, look at who's running the project, look at who's always involved on the project, get to know them, ask them who you should then connect with as well, ask them for their feedback on some of the things that you're working on, and build your way out like that. I know it's a little overwhelming to just you know, start a Twitter account and start following everyone, and then you don't know if to randomly respond to someone's tweet, you know, they're wondering who you are in the community. But if you start with a project, like a community project, and you're posting your work out there, you're giving feedback based off of the work that's being submitted in the project, then it kind of makes it less awkward, I would say. I also got involved starting out with the community project, which was Makeover Monday.
Okay, so I'm glad you find it to be overwhelming too. So
Yeah, for sure.
how do I keep up with this? Maybe I have to dedicate like 1 or 2 hours every day, because there's a lot going on.
30 minutes to an hour is what I'll give social media now.
Got it. That's good. Okay. Maybe 2 quick questions. I definitely want you to talk about your not-for-profit organization. Of course, I have it as Millennials and Data. What are you doing, and what are the active work going on there?
Awesome. So Millennials in Data, we nonprofit organization. We train students and professionals who want to understand data. So it's not just about Tableau. We teach you that full analytics process, from gathering requirements, collecting data, retrieving data using SQL, modeling data using SQL, modeling data in Tableau, calculations in Tableau, statistics using Tableau, and visualizing data using Tableau. And at the end of it, we pay for everyone to get certified in the desktop specialist certification exam. And it all comes with like case studies. Every week you're working on a case study. I call it a boot camp. It's called a 16-week analyst boot camp, where within those 16 weeks, you don't have to have any type of data experience. And we're going to teach you everything that you need to know to be, you know, what I consider a hybrid analyst, a business analyst with data analytics skills, the person that I was referring to in the beginning, who knows how to communicate, analyze data, and visualize data. And that's kind of like what we're doing with the boot camp. I'm happy to say that we're launching 2 boot camps this fall. We have one dedicated solely to students. So students, if there are students on this call, if you're looking to get involved in the boot camp, it meets every other week. So we're not asking to meet every single week. We meet twice a week, every other week. For 2.5 hours, 6:30 to 9. The applications are out for students and professionals. I'll be teaching the professional cohort. Registration is open for professionals as well. So we're doing 2 cohorts this fall. I have a trainer. Eric is running the student cohort, and I'll be running the professionals cohort.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. I know we are out of time. Last question, Chantilly. I mean, of course, we have like almost 60 people here, and you are very well known in the Tableau community. Is there anything that you can share with us, like one little secret that no one is aware of, that's about Tableau, or anything about you that no one is aware of, and the folks here would get to know it?
This is one that came across my desk not too long ago, so I'm not sure if everyone else is aware. I don't know if you all have this issue. It's going to be about Tableau. Hold on, did you want it to be about Tableau or about me? Which one?
It's about you. It's about you.
Okay, because I was gonna give you all a Tableau one.
Okay.
One thing about,
whatever you have, yeah.
I'll do the Tableau one, because you all might thank me for this one. When you bring images into Tableau, the latest versions of Tableau, have you ever noticed that your images are a little blurry? I don't know if you all noticed that, but on high res computers, your images are blurry. All right, so what you can do is when you're saving that image to the folder, and you rename the image, keep it whatever name, but at the end of the image, you want to use the %, type the word scale, so the @ symbol, and then 2x. And I'll put it in the, I'm going to put it in the chat for you all right now. And watch what happens when you do it. So this is going to say image, and then image name. You'll say %, scale, @ 2x. And it's going to unblurry your image.
Okay. Oh,
I'm very OCD, so I'm so excited to hear a solution for that because it's been bugging me for years.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. It's one that one of the analysts ran by me, and I've been using it. I've just used it in the dashboard board today. You can change the 2x. It's basically saying scale your image to 2x, like to a particular size. So you can scale it bigger. You can scale it to 10x, 15x. But if you're using like icons, smaller images on your dashboard, you probably want to scale it to 2x.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. So it did turn out to be a Tableau doctor session then.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we have a Zen master, that's what would happen. Yep, I get it. All right, thank you for your time. I know there are a few more questions, but we were not able to get to it. Sorry. Hope we can do a session like this again. I will be happy to take your feedback. But Chantilly, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Okay.
All righty.
And I will turn this to Andrea or Ryan. I think we can close this user group, virtual user group event.
Sure. Thanks, Prem, for leading our Q&A with Chantilly. So thanks again to everyone who signed on for our virtual meeting. Just a reminder that we have the Northern Virginia and DC meetings again later this month as well. Reminder, as always, if you would like to present, if you have a topic that you're interested in, please reach out to us. We have our contacts in the webinar chat, and you should also be able to find it in your meeting invite or confirmation. Thanks again to the Tableau team for supporting us and giving us access to this Zoom meeting. And thanks as always to all of our speakers and presenters, to Ryan, who's also one of our leaders, to Meredith and Tyler and Chantilly, and to Blend360 for putting together our trivia for this month. Please, again, feel free to reach out via LinkedIn or emails if they provided them to connect with everyone. Half of the benefit of these meetings is the networking opportunities. Everyone loves individual thank yous as well to show our appreciation since we're all volunteering our time. I think that covers everything. We don't have a tentative date for our next meeting yet. I would think after the next 3 meetings, we're all going to be pretty full, so we'll maybe take a break for a month. Anything else, Prem or Ryan, that I should cover before we sign off? This is being recorded, so we will be posting it in case you had to jump off early or late, and you can pass it along to your colleagues as well.
Yep, that covers everything. Thank you.
Okay, great. Almost perfectly on time. Nice and short this time. Send your feedback. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.